Hey everyone, Sharpan here. I am back. We are in the middle of a really interesting set of videos. I'm really enjoying actually talking about this subject because I think, well, first and foremost, it's one that just by pragmatic reasons has a lot of people that are interested because there are people that are holding GXT that want to know what they can do with it, that want to know, what's the progress and what's the roadmap for it, and more importantly, they may want to know like what's the potential, right? Are you willing to sell right now? Are you willing to sell at a very large discount? Is it sellable? Is it going to be worth something one day? I've always been pretty cautious to determine valuations of coins. Definitely global exchange token, but I would even say other coins. I don't consider the the timing of market predictions to be functionally easy, maybe not plausible even, but definitely not easy. But what I do know is when all of the factors for a surge in demand are there. Obviously, we're living through a really incredible Bitcoin, at least a mini Bitcoin bull run. The demand factors were there. They met the right prerequisites, timing aligned, right institutional players got involved, and boom, like a mic, Bitcoin's off. Global exchange, on the other hand, well, nobody knows about it. And when I mean nobody, I mean proportionally to the amount of people that would know about Bitcoin, for example. And that puts us in a really interesting position because I think it was Brian Chesky who used to say, he was the founder of Airbnb. He would always say, you can launch until someone cares. You could just keep launching. I think that was the structure, that was the logic behind Airbnb at the time. I think they launched like 9 times before anybody had taken them seriously. From the coin world, there's a lot of wisdom in that sentence, because when you're developing, like let's break it down not from an economic perspective. Let's break it down from a behavioral perspective, and not from a market behavior perspective. Like legitimately the behavior of the coin or the behavior of the people transacting in the coin. A very valuable coin is one that people don't know that they're using. A very valuable coin is one that people don't know that they're dependent on. That would make, for example, the United States dollar highly qualified. That would make, where the United States dollar is the most qualified to be the most valuable currency? Everywhere except the United States. Because in the United States, that dollar is king, and everywhere else, that dollar is God. And why we say that is because when you are operating in Canadian dollars, Mexican pesos, euros, Chinese yuan, Indian rupees, whatever, all you're really doing is interacting in a social and mathematical contract with your central bank, who is interacting with the social and mathematical contract with the United States Federal Reserve. And that's just on the fact that the United States dollar is the reserve currency of the world, making them the highest utility with the least acknowledgement, really, of that utility. So Bitcoin, to some degree, has elements of that, but Bitcoin is far too much discussed as the driving force of the cryptocurrency market to actually embody something like that. I'm much more bullish, again, not on the price point. I'm talking about in terms of usage, just usage. And of course, I'm not talking about ease of usage, because then the coin I'm about to name is not applicable. I'm just talking about usage in its naked form. Ethereum has, in my opinion, the greatest set of utilities. Ethereum is obviously used to fuel gas inside of any smart contract transaction. I could care less about gas in Ethereum. I care a lot that my smart contracts are working. Hence, gas is a cost of operations, a cost of existence, even. Okay, to some degree, that's what we wanted to duplicate with the GX token. And we were successful in doing that, at least in concept. So with GXT, we have attempted to do that when we're referring to the brokerage. And why I say that is because there is a significant percentage of the GXT holders or people that have held in the past that don't really give two hoots about the future value or anything regarding the future elements of the token. Now, because the way that our model was structured, we essentially gave the asset in a primary market. Along with that asset came anti-competitive functions whereby you're actually limiting how many competitors you have. In addition to that, you can of course leverage it to be able to monetize from the brokerage. And so you got a 3-for-1 deal for sure. But now when the other two things don't seem valuable, if that's the case that you're in, then you're looking at, well, what's the resale value? So that is a really investment oriented question that you can only really even get to that point and have that conversation once you've decided that the coin is of no utility to you. And I can appreciate completely why that's the paradigm in which anybody would approach any crypto, of course, including global exchange, simply because most cryptocurrencies to most people have absolutely no utility. That doesn't mean that most cryptocurrencies don't have utility. I'm just saying most cryptocurrencies to the people that use them, to the people that hold them. And the majority of people that are holding cryptocurrencies, particularly on an abstracted marketplace like an exchange, are really just holding a bet on the future utility to the people that actually find that coin useful. Let me reemphasize. If you're buying Ether today, you believe it's going up. I'm assuming you're not trying to lose money. You believe it's going up. Well, why do you believe it's going up? You may not know. You might not have the clearest depiction. You might be running technical analysis. You might be getting fundamental analysis. But what you're really taking a bet on is that there are going to be more smart contract consumption tomorrow than there is today. And then there's going to be even more 10 months from now. And if that starts to be true and Ethereum doesn't inflate their coin, then your coin will invariably, by all laws of mathematics, have gone up. So that is really the bet that you're taking on any coin. Of course, there are externalities, but that's the bet you're taking. You get to that when you're not a user of the smart contract. Because if you're a developer whose entire smart contract platform is reliant on gas or ether, trust me, you don't care about the price. You haven't checked the price once. You might have checked the price as it pertains to maybe cheapening your cost of operations, but you don't want the price to go up. And therein lies the difference between the two types of existing GX token holders. There is a percentile of people, can't say how much, I don't know how much. And it's not a lot, we're not talking about a big sample size in general, but a percentile of the people that ever bought Global Exchange who see to themselves no further utility, which means that they don't see the prospects of earning money as a broker. And they would like to close their brokerage position. Okay, cool. That's at that point, you're a trader. You're someone who's looking to sell the asset to someone else who may find it valuable. You don't find it valuable. Cool. That's why people sell Bitcoin. They don't find it valuable. They're hedging. Then there's the other percentile of people who are still, I'm not saying they're completely enthused, but they have not gotten to the threshold whereby they just want to offload because their brokerage means something to them. Maybe they've done work in the past and they don't want to lose that. They realize there's no cost of operations. So there's nothing beneficial in selling your tokens apart from the immediate cash out you're going to get. With all that being said, that percentage of people, they are not too interested in the price of GXT. They're more interested in what it can do for them. Now, obviously, I'm making it black and white, and there's kind of variables and anomalies on both sides. Of course, there is. But that's a reasonable way to look at it. You can also say Ethereum is constituted of two different types of Ethereum holders, people that need it for their smart contracts and people that are betting on other people needing it for their smart contracts. Unfortunately, you can't say the same thing about Bitcoin, which would make Bitcoin a really interesting analysis point. We'll review that on Market Maker, the next episode of Market Maker. But right now, I want to talk about the future and what I laid out in video 2, whereby we have a consortium of a variegated group of vendors, you can call them platforms, all digital, but also operating offline, that are going to accept GXT as payment. We've been very careful about who is joining this list because our goal is not to replace fiat currency. Our goal is not so you buy chips with GX. Our goal is that we are interoperating elements of the global supply chain that are hitherto uncatered. So that's exciting stuff. Now let's talk about what that means. Again, I'm going to use a particular example outside of crypto, and then I'll use a particular example inside of crypto in terms of what these consortium members are bringing to the table, as well as, of course, what that means for the psychology of the customer. All right. So there's this one app that you guys may or may not remember. It's called Brain. It used to be in the old Global Exchange Nitrous app when we had all the applications on the left hand side. It was so new, and we never explained any of it. So I would be shocked if anybody used it from this community. Now Brain has found a new home, as well as all of our other apps, and a lot of them will be now resurfacing, not inside a Global Exchange as an application, but inside a Global Exchange as a paradigm. But Brain has found a new home, had found a new home about 3.5 months ago at Brain.stream, which is quickly becoming the leading platform for sharing files that is stored in the cloud. In other words, if you are keeping something on Google Drive and you want to share it, Google Drive has made it a big effort of theirs to make that a simple process. If you have something on OneDrive and you want to make it you want to share it with someone, they've made that process also something they focused on. Personally, me and the founders of Brain.stream think that all sharing modules right now are horrible. And so we were inspired, actually, just for our own purposes, because we send a lot of files to each other, to develop an online store, like a cloud storage enterprise, while focusing everything on the sharing element of files and not much on the storage, because the storage really is democratized and at some point just becomes cost benefit analysis for the user. It's quite not competitive. Whereas the sharing element changes everything. And so this is not a pitch for Brain.stream, but right now developers, streamers, companies, people are using it, and their primary benefit is that they could share files in closed environments in what we call rooms. It's really interesting to see that evolve. Why I'm bringing that up? They have monthly subscriptions, obviously, to denominate the amount of storage you're using. If their subscription is $10 for a particular plan, and now if you pay with GXT, it's $5 worth of GXT. Of course, that's determined by the merchant. Now you have a bunch of people who are already using Brain.stream, or forget about that. Let's just say nobody's using it, and in the future people use it, that literally will not be holding GXT for more than a couple minutes. They are simply going to buy it if the cost of how much ever the quota of GXT to pay their 1 month subscription is less than the price that they would be paying in fiat for that 1 month subscription. And as soon as it's not, because the market value had increased, they're no longer going to do that. They'll just pay the dollars. But until it does, it'll be very much like Costco. Inside of all of the GX apps, we've built faucets, token faucets, where people can immediately access GX tokens for the purpose of paying for stuff. And so now, when 100 developers need to pay their subscription and they could save $2, they just click an additional 2 buttons and they're paying in GXT. Well, where's that GXT coming from? So this is a bombshell. We, the primary holders of GXT, still are no longer selling any more coins. Make sure you cut this out. Make this part its own video. We, and when I say we, I mean obviously the creating team of Global Exchange Token, are not selling any more tokens. There is no way for you to be buying tokens directly from us or in Nitrous or in any capacity that you recall. What this does is it eliminates the majority of GX tokens from secondary market trading. Pick a number, 10 million, 15 million, 7 million, 5 million. You can pick any of those numbers. You could pick 100 million. Let's say that's how many tokens are in circulation, not held by us. Well, all of those people now have to place their GXT either on hold in a contract, or they could put them for sale. And I will be talking about the platforms we've developed specifically for the trading of GXT. It's pretty crazy. But What is happening now is those people that want to use brain.stream and are literally looking at it pragmatically and saying, I'm just trying to save my $2 a month or whatever, are going to buy it from the secondary market. So as long as that beholden's a cheaper price than paying in fiat. Now, that's you guys. Let me get that straight again. That's you guys. If you want to sell your tokens, you're going to sell them. In the next quarter or so, I suppose that the multifaceted amount of customers, the diverse group of people that have literally no connection to each other and don't care about making money off GXT. They're saving money by paying in GXT. They're willing to even incur fees because of the relationships with our vendors. But let's say that let's say that Tom is the brain developer and he goes, he buys 50 tokens from the secondary market. Let's say he buys them from me. Let's say I'm the guy that's selling them. Obviously, I got them from the primary market. All right, cool. Where does those tokens go? So Tom bought them from you, and like we established, his job, his goal, his objective is to pay his subscription with it so that he can save on it. Well, who is he paying? He's either paying us for one of our apps or he's paying one of the GX vendors that are a part of the consortium. Oh, that's interesting. Well, where do those coins go? They actually go out of circulation. Let me be very clear. This is an excruciatingly important point. When I use the word circulation, I am not using it in the context of a protocol's capacity to eliminate coins from the total supply. That is not what we're discussing. I'm saying circulation from a market capacity whereby there are coins available, but the sellers are not entering them into the order book. That is who and what our position is as the largest holders of GXT. Now, right now, there's a surplus of GXT, a couple million, I would imagine, ready to be traded by people that have bought it. The people that are going to buy it from you are people that don't care about it, and they'll be handing it directly back to one or more of the global exchange constituted companies or the brands in the consortium. Those coins leave the supply chain. They just go into not for sale because the people that have them are not interested in selling them. They want to keep them. So then what happens? Now, you, or me, in this case, I was the guy that bought it from the primary and I sold it to Tom. Tom comes back next month. Again, it doesn't happen peer to peer and it doesn't happen like directly to each other. It just happens on a trading platform we built specifically for GXT. We'll go into that. But Tom comes back to the market. Let's say he comes back to me. He's like, Sharp Hand, pal. Thanks for supporting me last month. That was saved me a lot of, saved me some time, money. I just need another order. And you're like, what do you mean? I don't have any more. I only bought it once. He's like, what? You're like, yeah, actually, you and several other people just bought all of them. He's like, where do I get them? Well, of course, I'm being a little bit satirical for the purpose of exemplification, but essentially now what Sharpan is realizing is, oh, Tom has a requirement every month. And every new user has a requirement every month because they're not staking tokens. In some cases, they are. Some of the vendors are staking oriented. And still, we're staking oriented in several of our products that we're grandfathering people into. But the craziest thing is that Tom's going to need tokens next month. Tom's going to need tokens next month. All the other Brain customers will, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Let's just run some simple math. Let's just use a very large number, 10 million coins that are being held by non-global exchange. Those 10 million, let's say 5 million really want to sell. Okay. Let's just say the average use case inside of the consortium is consuming 100 coins per user per month so that the user could access the price differential or access the served-in period or whatever it is by paying 100 tokens. Again, completely fabricated numbers I'm using just for the purpose of illustration. Now what's happening is, let's say there's only 1,000 users amongst all the GX apps that find value in any of the sub apps created by us or not created by us that are then obviously, because as soon as they find value, and it could be a dating app, a gaming app, or whatever it is, they don't care if it's GXT or Bigo Live coins or whatever. They're trying to save money or get access. 1,000 people, 100 tokens, it's 100,000. And a million coins for sale in 10 months, there will be no more coins available on that secondary market. If it's 5 million, then it's 50 months. Or it just needs to increase the amount of users. C, because we operated solely under a staking model, that created the requirement for gargantuan adoption. And 350,000 is not gargantuan. For the release of the broker app I have right now, trust me, we're going to get that. But apart and beyond that, when you're talking about something where the user is paying every month in that currency as a mechanism of savings for him or as a mechanism of access in general, now you're talking about a reoccurring demand. And you don't have a reoccurring asset. Listen carefully, existing global exchange token holders. You don't have a reoccurring asset. It's not being mined. You bought it. You're going to sell it. And that's it. End of relationship, end of story. That guy's going to need to buy it next month. He will find someone else. What happens when all 5 million of the legit example goes back into the hands of the vendors or the consortium? Oh, you look around, you see that everybody who would ever sell a token has sold it. There's some people who are frustratingly loyal and incredibly for that, keeping it. Who has all the tokens now? Well, they've moved back into the suppliers and our hands because we've been able to lose. And by the way, let's get it very clear. We're losing money. The vendors are losing money because they would have collected $10. Now they're collecting for whatever, 40 tokens, or I'm just giving an example. So they're losing out on colossal amounts of revenue because now what we know is that as you expand, you have a unifying force, which is the token. The token is now in and of itself the demand structure, and it's correlated precisely to the staking and payment algorithms deployed by all the global exchange app connoisseurs, developers. I don't know what this means. I do know that after the token, the tokens that are in current circulation, once they're returned to us a la this model, then yeah, we're going to start selling them ourselves again. And again, nobody who's buying them is keeping them for a couple minutes. They're buying them just so they can get into their app and move on, not have a horrible deal, for example. And then you expand this and you examine our plan of making everybody an app developer, giving them free. I mean, I can't speak again on the price point. In the next video, I'll talk about the actual trading application we built specifically for GXT, the mobile application we built for it. Why do we do that? How do we do that? What's our roadmap for that? What's the intention? Thank you.